Right. Today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating way to manage huge software projects. It's called the spiral model. You always hear about these massive, high stakes projects where everything feels super uncertain. Well, this is one of the key tools for tackling them. Let's get into it. So, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest, scariest danger in a massive software project? Is it a last minute bug, missing a deadline? Yeah, those are bad for sure. But the real killer, it's often discovering a fundamental flaw in your core idea way, way too late, after you've already sunk a ton of time and money into it. That's the stuff of nightmares, right? And that is exactly where the spiral model comes in. It was dreamed up by Barry Boehm, and it's a really clever mix of two other models. See, it takes the super structured, step by step planning from the waterfall model, and it mashes it up with the flexible, do it again and again approach of an iterative model. The whole point, the entire game, is to hunt down and deal with those big, scary risks as early as humanly possible. Okay, so how does this thing actually work in practice? Let's break down the anatomy of a spiral. This is where you can really see the genius of this risk-driven process. So the whole model works in these repeating cycles, or loops. And you can think of each loop as its own little mini project that always moves through four phases. First, you figure out your objectives. What are we trying to do in this loop? Then comes the most important part. You analyze the risks. You build a prototype, you poke it, you try to break it. After that, you actually develop and test the next chunk of the software. And finally, you show it to the customer, get their feedback, and plan your next loop. Then you just rinse and repeat. I absolutely love this visual. As you go through each loop, the spiral gets wider and wider. That growing radius, that's your project cost piling up. And the angle, how far you've traveled around the circle, that's your progress. It's such a smart, simple way to see exactly how much you've spent and how far you've come. This quote just nails it. It's the entire philosophy in one sentence. You're deliberately tackling the biggest, hairiest problems first, right at the beginning when the cost of getting it wrong is at its absolute lowest. It's all about not building a giant, expensive mansion on a foundation made of sand. Okay, I know this can all feel a little abstract, so let's make it concrete. We're going to walk through what it would look like to build a new e-commerce website using the spiral model. This should make everything click. So, first time around the spiral, we're keeping it simple. The goal is just to figure out the basics. Can we list products? Can a user add something to a cart? That's it. But even now, we're already thinking about the big risks, security and scalability. The result isn't a website, it's just a bare bones prototype to prove our main idea even works. Okay, on to the second loop. We take the feedback from that first prototype, and now we refine the design. Let's add user accounts and, crucially, a secure way to pay. So naturally, our risk analysis gets laser focused on making sure those transactions are bulletproof. What we end up with is a version of the site that's much more solid and secure. Now we're in the third spiral, and we're adding the cool stuff. Order tracking, customer reviews, a really good search bar. But with more features comes more risk, especially performance. So can the website handle thousands of people shopping at once? We have to test it under heavy load. The outcome here is a site that's not just full of features, but one we know can actually handle success. And at last, the final spiral, deployment. This loop is all about that final round of testing, pushing the button to go live, and setting up all our monitoring tools. And the risk analysis doesn't stop just because we launched. Now we're watching the live site like a hawk for anything we missed. And the outcome? A live, working website that's ready for real customers. So you can see it's a super thorough process. But like anything in life, no model is perfect. There are always trade-offs. So let's get real about the good and the bad of going with the spiral model. Okay, let's break it down. On the plus side, it is fantastic at handling risk. It's built for it. It's super flexible if you know your requirements are going to change, and it's great for those huge, complex projects. Plus, you get customer feedback really early. But on the flip side, it's complicated to manage, it's not cheap, and it totally relies on having real experts who can actually spot the risks. And maybe the biggest headache of all, trying to predict when you'll actually be finished is tough. So, knowing all of that, the big question is, when does it actually make sense to use the spiral model? When should you go for it? It really boils down to this. You use the spiral model when the stakes are incredibly high. It's the perfect fit for a big, messy, high-risk project where you don't have all the answers up front.
If your requirements are fuzzy, if you absolutely need to build prototypes to figure things out, and if every dollar and every risk needs to be carefully watched, then yeah, the spiral model could be your best friend.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Look, the spiral model is demanding. It's a lot of work, and it's not the cheapest path.